Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's installment of the Anderson Healey Show. This is our weekly broadcast from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network that gets you up to speed on all the latest developments in Arizona State Sun Devil athletics. Hi, everybody. I'm Tim Healey, the radio play-by-play voice of Sun Devil football, men's basketball, and baseball, and it's my pleasure to serve as your co-host each and every week. Now, my regular co-host, Arizona State Vice President for University Athletics, Ray Anderson, can't be with us this week, but filling in for Ray, we are delighted to welcome to the show a woman who is a familiar person and a familiar face to those of us in Sun Devil athletics. For 14 years, she worked in the ASU women's basketball office, working with the legendary former head coach of the Sun Devils, Charlie Turner Thorne. From there, she transitioned into athletics administration here at ASU and now serves not only as Arizona State's Senior Associate Athletic Director, but she is also the Athletic Department's Senior Women's Administrator. It is a delight to welcome Christina Wombacher to the Anderson Healey Show as our guest co-host this week. We've known each other for years. This is the first time we've co-hosted a show together. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Normally, she and I compare our Ellas. You have a daughter named Ella. I have a granddaughter named Ella. How is your Ella doing?
Always thinking of Ellis. Yes, she's doing great. Thank you. Getting prepared to go to college.
Mine is 7 years old. She's 7 years old going on 13. She's one of those, a great, great kid. Hey, we have two special guests joining us on this week's show. We mentioned the name of Charlie Turner Thorne just a few moments ago. Well, the woman who replaced Charlie as Arizona State's head coach, Natasha Adair, about to begin her second year in charge of the Sun Devil women's basketball program. She will join us a little bit later on in the show. So too will a new member, an incoming member of the Sun Devil Athletics Hall of Fame and Hall of Distinction. Next week, Arizona State will induct 7 new honorees into the Sun Devil Athletics Hall of Fame, one of them being legendary former Arizona State track and field coach Greg Kraft. And Greg will drop by for a visit a little bit later on in the show. As we usually do each fall, we begin this week's episode with a look back at Sun Devil football and last Saturday night's game, and what an exciting evening of football it turned out to be at Mountain America Stadium. Sold out Mountain America Stadium. Over 54,000 fans gathered to watch the last ever Pac-12 matchup between Arizona State and USC. It just doesn't feel right to say the last ever matchup between these two longtime storied rivals, but what a game it turned out to be.
It was excellent. The crowd was amazing. I think really helped the team, and the team grew during that game. It was a great game. Yeah,
no doubt they did. The Sun Devils were 5 touchdown underdogs entering that game against 5th ranked and unbeaten USC, and while the Trojans eventually prevailed 42-28. Coach Kenny Dillingham's Sun Devils turned in a marvelous effort in that game, and his club played magnificently throughout the evening. Had a chance to win at the end. In fact, talking to several players at practice today, we taped this show on Tuesday. One of them told me he felt like we should have won the game.
Yeah, we definitely put ourselves in a position to win, and I think the crowd support was awesome. The drone show, how about #1 in innovation for the university? Everybody enjoyed that, and we activated the Valley. We hope everybody comes back.
Talk about #1 in innovation. I think one of the two things, there were two things in particular from a football perspective that I think really caught people's attention about the Sun Devils play on Saturday night. And one of them was the innovative, aggressive, and creative play calling of ASU's head coach, Kenny Dillingham, who took over the play calling duties for that game and really opened some eyes with his imaginative play calls. And the second thing that just caught everybody's attention was the superb all-around performance of Arizona State running back Cameron Scadaboo, who totaled 232 yards of rushing, receiving, and even passing yards. He completed 2 passes for 43 yards. Heck, he even dropped a 53-yard punt inside the USC 5-yard line at one stage. Christina, that was one of the best all-around performances I've seen from a Sun Devil football player in a long time.
Fun to watch.
Yeah, he was a terrific player. It is just hard to believe, though, isn't it? It's the last Pac-12 meeting between these two schools.
It is.
It seems
we've got to cherish it. It is bittersweet.
All these games coming up are just going to be a lot of laughs, except, of course, when the Sun Devils take on Colorado, Utah, and Arizona, all of whom will be going with ASU to the Big 12 Conference next year. This week, ASU football hits the road for the first time, heading to Berkeley, California to take on the Cal Golden Bears. Kickoff is set for 12 noon. What do you know? A day game for ASU football. 12 noon on Saturday. Our Mountain America Sun Devil Radio Network broadcast will begin at 9:30 a.m. with the Sun Devil Tailgate Show hosted by Jeff Munn and Kevin Turner. And then Jeff Van Raphorst will join Kevin Turner and me for the play-by-play broadcast. It'll begin at 12 noon on Saturday. Without question, the feel-good story of Sun Devil sports in the fall of 2023 happens to be one of the sports for which you, Christina, are the sport administrator, women's volleyball. Arizona State volleyball continues to open eyes around the nation with its 14-0 start, the second best start in program history. In fact, ASU is now one of only 4 remaining undefeated teams in women's volleyball nationally. The other 3, number 1 ranked Wisconsin, number 2 ranked Nebraska, and the Citadel. Playing for the first time this season on their own campus, the Sun Devils of first-year head coach J.J. Van Niel opened Pac-12 play with 2 wins at home at Mullet Arena last weekend. They swept arch-rival Arizona 3-0 last Thursday in front of a crowd of nearly 5,000, and then Sunday afternoon in front of a crowd of nearly 4,000. The Sun Devils registered a 3-1 win over the always tough Washington Huskies. As a result, Arizona State this week is ranked 25th in the American Volleyball Coaches Association weekly poll. The first time since 2018 that ASU has been ranked in volleyball. Give us your perspective. You work with these girls a lot, this program a lot. Your perspective on the tremendous start that first-year head coach J.J. Van Niel has been able to author so far.
We are really excited about what JJ has brought to the program. You know, not too many new players. We have 9 returners, 6 new players. Started with the culture from day one. Hard work, intensity. Coach is all about the analytics. You know his background in hedge funds, so he's all about the numbers. He focused on serving, focused on passing, focused on hard work, culture. The team is really building, working hard, and building a strong culture.
Now, you were part of the process through which JJ was eventually hired. He came to ASU after being an assistant coach at USC, and prior to that, he had served briefly as an assistant coach at the University of Utah. What were some of the things you saw in him that made you believe that he would be the right fit as the new volleyball coach here?
The passion for the game, putting the student athletes first, the human student athlete component, focused on academics, focused on team culture, teamwork, everything we were looking for in a coach. So we knew he had the passion to bring the team to this kind of level.
The team is doing well, and one of their star players is also doing well. For the second consecutive week, Marta Levinska was named the Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Week after she posted double-digit kills totals in each of the 2 matches last week against Arizona and Washington. Marta is the first Sun Devil volleyball player ever to win a Pac-12 weekly award in consecutive weeks, and it's her 4th career weekly award, making her one of only 3 Sun Devils to be named Player of the Week as many as 4 times. The others, 2 of the greats in the program's history, Christine Garner and Macy Gardner. But Marta Levinska, you talk about a new coach coming in and establishing his program and his culture. It sure helps when you can inherit a few really good veteran players, and Marta's been all that for this program. What does she bring to Sun Devil volleyball?
She is a gamer, and we always want to get it to Marta, and and she has proven that she can take it. Shannon Shields, upperclassmen, the whole upperclassmen are just destined for greatness, and they knew it, and it's coming out this year.
And Shannon Shields, by the way, was our guest on last week's Anderson Healey show. The Sun Devil football team, as we mentioned, will be in the Bay Area this weekend. Well, so too will volleyball, as J.J. Van Niel's team hits the road in conference play for the first time for 2 challenging matches this Friday night. And what a match this should be. The Sun Devils will take on third-ranked Stanford at Stanford, California. And then on Sunday, October 1st, the volleyball team will be where the football team will spend this Saturday in Berkeley, California. It'll be ASU and Cal in volleyball, a 12 noon start to that match on Sunday, October 1st. Now, they may be perhaps a little bit overshadowed by the great start volleyball has enjoyed, but I'll tell you what, Sun Devil women's soccer is doing pretty darn well as well. Coach Graham Winkworth's team opened Pac-12 conference play last weekend with a 2-0 home victory over the Oregon State Beavers, with sophomore forward Anasia Colon scoring both of Arizona State's goals. It was her third 2-goal game already this season. And volleyball 14-0. Christina, you can't complain a lot about what soccer's doing. They've only lost once in 10 matches so far this season, going 6-1-3. What are some of your takes on what Graham Winkworth's team has done so far?
Really exciting to watch. Graham as well focuses on culture first, and the wins will come. So the team is really gelling more than they have in the past and have their sights set on NCAA tournament.
Now, soccer will also head to the Bay Area this weekend. They will be at Stanford on Thursday night, September 28th at 7 p.m. And then they will be at Cal Sunday afternoon at 1. So on Sunday, you're going to have 2 ASU Cal matches in Berkeley, almost running simultaneously to each other. Volleyball at 12 noon and women's soccer at 1 p.m. Coming up, we're going to preview another sport which Christina Wombacher oversees at Arizona State, as we'll get the latest on the Sun Devil women's basketball team from the program's second-year head coach. Natasha Adair will join us. But first, let's take a time out. This is the Anderson Healey Show from the Sun Devil Radio Network. We continue now on the Anderson Healey Show from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. I'm Tim Healey, the radio voice of the Sun Devils, and your host for our show, joined this week by ASU Senior Associate Athletic Director Christina Wombacher, filling in for Ray Anderson. Don't look now, folks, but college basketball season just around the corner. Yeah, football's just underway, volleyball, soccer. But college hoops, we're about a little over a month away from tip-off of the 2023-2024 season. And for the Arizona State women's basketball program, this season will be year 2 under the leadership of the woman who's our guest on this segment of the Anderson Healey Show. She was a one-time Coach of the Year in the Colonial Athletic Association at the University of Delaware, also previous coaching stops at Georgetown, Wake Forest, and the College of Charleston. We are delighted to welcome our friend Natasha Adair back to the Anderson Healey Show. How have you been? Good to see you.
Tim, thank you. Good to see you. I'm excited. You said we're almost there. Yesterday was the first day of official practice.
Wow.
Today we're 41 days away now, and I'm telling you,
if you have
time, come check us out. The energy, enthusiasm, competitiveness. I mean, the gym practice is the best part of my day.
I'm coming by during football bye week. I'm going to catch you both because I want to see Bobby Hurley's team and I want to see your team get ready for this season.
Please do.
Both sides of the Weather Up Center are going to be alive with energy.
It's a lot of energy. As soon as you walk in the doors, you know that the players are working hard, we're competing, and just going into year 2. I mean, it's just, I'm really excited about what's ahead.
Reflect back on year 1 and some of your main takeaways from last season.
Well, the one thing I will say that our group was a resilient group. You know, every time you watched us play, you watched us compete. We couldn't control some of the adversity with the injuries and things of that nature, but it never took away from the competitive edge of the group. We had players, obviously, Jaden Simmons, who logged a lot of minutes, Treasure Hunt, who logged a lot of minutes, Ty Skinner, who logged a lot of minutes, but the competitiveness in them, and now just seeing, what they bring on a daily basis, the leadership. But I learned a lot about them as people too, and just excited for what year 2 has in store for not only myself as a coach here, but just for the team, for the fans, for the pack.
Yeah.
Just because I know right now where we are, we weren't able to do this a year ago. We didn't have a preseason. We didn't log a lot of practices because we had to preserve a lot of bodies. And so now we're getting after it. I get to go in and there are 15 bodies, and I'm like a kid in a candy store. And so just really looking forward to Jaden and some of the returners, but I'm looking forward to who emerges as well in year 2.
A lot of times year 1 is about establishing a culture for a program.
Sure.
What type of culture do you want to have established in your program? What are some of the foundational principles of your program?
First things first is just we're blue collar. I mean, we're going to roll up our sleeves and we're going to work. And there's no substitute for that. But then there's just this integrity and trust and disciplines and loyalty to where I am my sister's keeper, if you will, and just creating that sense of family and what that means. How do you protect family? How do you protect the culture and what it stands for? I mean, there's a long, rich history of championships and winning and success. And so the cupboard wasn't bare. And we understand that. I understood that when I took the job of the winning legacy and traditions. And so we want to continue that, but we want to build it. But to your point, it starts with just that culture. And so we do a lot of team bonding. We do a lot of community outreach and engagement. And I think that's also important too, as the community gets to know who I am, who my staff is, what we stand for, and also meet new faces. I mean, we have 7 new players this season, and I don't know if that will continue, obviously, with the transfer portal and how things are changing in the landscape. Hopefully not that many. But I think it's just, athletics is the doorstep to the community, to the program, to the university. And so we understand what our role is and what the responsibilities are, but there's nothing like building that community and just that camaraderie in that locker room, and that's what we've been doing. Now,
certainly it was a challenge during Pac-12 play last year with the wins and losses, but your program did have some close calls down the stretch, and that first Pac-12 win you got was a memorable one at Gill Coliseum in Corvallis, Oregon, in late February, when the Sun Devils rallied from a 17-point deficit to beat one of the best women's programs in the Pac-12 in Oregon State, 75-73. Did you get a sense that your program gained some traction over those final couple of weeks?
Absolutely. And you talk about it. We were in a lot of those games, and when it's a new group, you still have to learn trust with one another. This is a group that had never played together. There were all returners. I mean, all newcomers, with only one returner being Jaden Simmons. And so the other players who were in the program hadn't played a lot of minutes before. So it was literally like coaching a whole team of freshmen, if you will. So every day we were putting it together and putting it together and putting it together. And so inch by inch by inch. And so I think just in that moment, you all got to see what we had been working towards. And they were able to, just in that moment, trust the process, because sometimes it's hard to trust it when you don't see the immediate results. And we can preach every day as a coach, hey, trust the process, trust the process. But in this social media, immediate gratification, they need to see it now. And so, again, I commend our group because you just saw it on their face. I mean, they were so determined. And we talked about the little things and what it was going to take. And so in that moment, the win was so important for them, more than it was me, but just for them to see their hard work pay off.
And by the way, that was the second biggest comeback in the history of Arizona State women's basketball, that win at Oregon State last February. And you've mentioned Jaden Simmons several times. Of course, I think some of our fans know that Jaden's dad, Jason Simmons, a former outstanding football player for the late Bruce Snyder at Arizona State in the mid-1990s, a member of that 96 Rose Bowl team. But Jaden, she's going to be the rock of your team, I get this year, with 12 points per game average, average from a year ago, 3 assists, 2 steals per game, made the honorable mention Pac-12 All-Defensive Team. Where are you looking for her to take that next step this year?
Well, you started with the word. Jaden and I talked about it, and we talked about every day. She wants to be Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. That's her individual goal, and I second that, right? I echo that for her, and she has the ability to just wreak havoc, be disruptive in all areas, and defense kind of jump starts her. But those 12 points, I mean, look for those to increase as well. She has the green light. She's a 3-level scorer. She impacts the game, high IQ, and so you're going to see the ball in her hands a ton. And the thing that I absolutely love is that her teammates trust her. You know, she knows how to talk to every member of the team. She knows what makes them tick. And so just knowing the buy-in that everyone has and what Jaden brings, but it's her turn. I mean, she's earned this. She was one who stayed and really trusted the process. Now she's all in. And so I'm excited for her. And Jaden will never be the loudest one in the room, right? But she is definitely one of the most effective, and she's gonna give you everything that she has. And so if that's one of our leaders, then for sure we're in good hands.
I think so.
Yes.
You had a guard who was your leading rebounder last year, 6'2" Treasure Hunt, the former Kentucky Wildcat, averaged 6 rebounds along with 11 points per game a season ago. Where are you looking for Treasure to step up this year?
Treasure's a star. I mean, in every bit of the word. I just think Treasure's such a hard guard because she can score inside, she can score on the perimeter, she spent time working on her ball handling, and so I just see her being way more effective and consistent in areas. But again, another player that will command a lot of attention, but she's played her whole life, you know, in front of the camera, but she knows the game. Her mother was a coach, so she's just like Jaden in a sense. They understand what it takes. Not afraid of the big moments, not afraid of the big stage, and just now in her senior year, it's just time to put it all together. Last year was learning a new system, coming from an old system, and just kind of building that confidence with what we're doing and how we're doing it. And so just to see that whatever pressure release, and now very comfortable, very confident in her role, and just what I've challenged her with is leadership. And I've challenged a lot of our upperclassmen with that. Lead by example, but also be that vocal leader, because we do have newcomers, we do have younger players, and they need our upperclassmen to lead. And so she didn't back down from it at all. She understood exactly what my expectations are of her, and so I'm looking for her to lead, not just on the court, but off the court as well.
Who are some of the newcomers that you're looking forward to seeing this year and having them step up?
How much time do we have? For sure, Jaylen Brown, they call her Ice, and she transferred in, and she's just so explosive. I mean, explosive on the wing. She can score the ball. She's going to be a rebounding guard for us, but just her personality. I mean, she's a sophomore, but you hear her in practice. She's not afraid to speak, very confident, and just I think she will also spark our defense. I mean, you're going to see us press more, which I absolutely love to do. We're going to mix it up on how we, cover ball screens and things of that nature. But she's just going to be someone that I think the fans will absolutely love her energy and how hard she plays. But she can score the ball. She can shoot the ball at a very high clip. Another player that I'm excited to say her name, and I don't even know if you know, Maggie Besselink. She's on the court.
I actually was going to ask you about her because she's had some injury issues.
She's had some injuries, but I will tell you, our trainer, Annalisa, has done a phenomenal job, and Maggie has been very diligent about her recovery and her rehab, and so she is in practice with us. She is cleared, 100% ready to go, and I think she is going to be a name that is not new to our fans, but I think just her impact will be felt immediately. Another player, Khadijah Torre, she's a sophomore transfer, but just has a presence. Rebounder. That's where I think we're going to really excel this year more than a year ago, is we're going to get those second and third opportunities on the glass. And that's something that's what wins games. And so, there's so many I could list, but Mallory Miller, she's a freshman, South Dakota. Her and her sister are here. Sister's a year older. But I think Mallory's going to be impactful as well. 6'5", post presence, but she can shoot the three. So she's that trail post. She'll be that hard guard. So look a little bit. You'll see a little bit of high-low. You'll see a little bit of pick and pop. But again, another player that's going to rebound the ball for us. So I'm excited about what we have to work with.
Anxious to see how the newcomers blend in with some of your veteran players.
They're doing really well.
Yeah.
They're working hard, I will tell you that.
Yeah, I understand you've had a couple of slight modification in your coaching staff this year?
Oh, well, we did. Long time coach and friend, Bob Clark, retired. He finally,
Bob's a good man, yeah.
yeah, he finally, and Bob and I had been together over 25 years.
Wow.
Pretty much at every stop. And he, his family is in Charleston, South Carolina, so he said, you know what, Tosh, this is it. After 44 years.
Wow.
He was coaching 44 years, and we were so fortunate. Yvonne Sanchez, and I've known Ches probably for about 20 years. And she was here previously, so very familiar just to the fan base, the area. I think that's super important. Has a lot of West Coast ties. And so I called her and I said, hey, I hope you haven't, set your calendar on retirement too long, because I need you to come back. And she's just been, another mind, another brain, another coach that has done it at the head coach level. And it's nothing like having all of us in the war room with just that experience. Having Coach Mosley, who got promoted to associate head coach. He was a head coach before. And so I just love what our staff brings from a coaching perspective, but also from a teaching perspective. And our players, they get it from all angles. And when you coach with me, your voice matters. And I think that's something I've learned along my journey. It's better to have more ideas in the room than just one. So they're respected. And I know that we will benefit from the addition of Coach Sanchez. And I think with Coach Mosley being in a new role, a more impactful role, you can see that on the court.
Finally, we just want to touch on your schedule briefly. The opening game, again, just around the corner, Monday, November 6th, UTSA, the University of Texas San Antonio, providing the opposition at Desert Financial Arena. You've got a trip to the Virgin Islands, Thanksgiving weekend, great competition at the Virgin Islands Paradise Jam, Texas, South Florida, and High Point. And then a game, the Sun Devil men and women are both part of the Jerry Colangelo Hall of Fame series at Footprint Center on December 20th, and the Sun Devil women will play Fresno State. I think that's a 12 noon tip-off downtown.
Yes, and so, just in our tournaments, the Hall of Fame Classic, for us to be able to be in Footprint Center alongside of our men, I think that just speaks to the importance of our game here in the Valley. And to, our players they're so pumped. I'm like, okay, we have other games prior to that before we get to that moment, but just to be able to play, in that arena and have our fans there cheering us on, I think that will be, just a classic and a tournament that our players and myself will remember. And in the Paradise Jam, I don't know if you know, but I went to South Florida, so we get to play my alma mater. No pressure there. The last time that I did play them, we did win, and they were top 25. So I'm sure Jose is not going to forget that. But we wanted to make sure our schedule prepared us for Pac-12 play. And even in our non-conference, pretty much every team that we play has had postseason experience or NCAA tournament experience. And so we're playing the teams that are either in the middle or at the top of their conference, just so we are prepared, for the Pac and for conference play. Because again, our goals don't change. Last year is over. What did we learn from it? But this year, again, the goal is to win the Pac. The goal is to go to the tournament. The goal is to make it past the Elite Eight, the Final Four, and win a national championship, and understanding that there's a process to to getting there. But with how hard the players are working, praying for good health for our team, but the mindset is there, the work ethic is there, and the talent for sure is there. So I like our chances.
Circle that date, folks. Monday, November 6th, Desert Financial Arena, opening night of the college basketball season for the Arizona State women's team of second-year head coach Natasha Adair. Great to see you, Tasha. All the best to you this season.
Tim, thank you.
We will be back with more on the Anderson Healey Show coming up. You're going to meet a former Sun Devil sports coach who is about to become a Sun Devil Athletics Hall of Famer. A visit with legendary former ASU track and field head coach Greg Kraft is coming up after this. This is the Anderson Healey Show from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. Welcome back to the Anderson Healey Show from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. I'm Tim Healey, the radio voice of the Sun Devils, and your host for this week's show. Next weekend, Arizona State University will bestow one of the top athletic honors that it hands out every year upon 5 former Sun Devil student athletes, 1 sports team, and 1 former ASU head coach, when all will be inducted into the Sun Devil Athletics Hall of Fame. The student athletes to be honored are 4-time NCAA track and field champion thrower Jordan Clark, former Sun Devil baseball and longtime Major League Baseball star Jason Kipnis, ASU football pass-catching great Sean McDonald, water polo's all-time leading scorer Addison McGrath, and volleyball star Regina Stahl-Mannix. In addition, the 2007 Sun Devil women's track team will become the second full team to enter the Hall of Fame, joining the 1995 NCAA champion ASU women's golf team, while the man who coached the 2007 women's track team to both the NCAA indoor and outdoor titles that year will be inducted into the Hall of Distinction. And we are thrilled to have head coach Greg Kraft join us here on the Anderson Healey Show. We miss you around here, Greg. How have you been, and how are you enjoying retirement?
Well, we're enjoying retirement, and we've been healthy, and all is good. My wife and I were college sweethearts, so we're out here in San Luis Obispo where we met at Cal Poly. So that's where we're kind of living out the dream.
Oh, there you go. Well, it's great to hear. You know, I'm always interested to hear what people's reactions are or were when they get that good news. How did you respond? How did you react when you heard that you were going to be inducted into the Hall of Distinction here at Arizona State?
Well, my wife and I were out traveling, and I had a voicemail from Ray Anderson that I was probably 2 weeks tardy in responding to. And so Ray had reached out to us and informed us, and obviously we were thrilled to hear it and quite honored by it.
How would you summarize your feelings and reflections from your nearly 2 decades here coaching at ASU?
Well, it was 23 years as the coach, so 2 decades plus.
Right.
You know, when we came in '96, it was kind of similar to football. You know, we were banned from postseason play with NCAA violations and both the Pac-12, Pac-10 championships back then. And so when we came, it was kind of an interesting transition. But, you know, what brought us to Arizona State were some just wonderful people. And initially, my immediate supervisor was the athletic director, Kevin White. And both Kevin and Jane were track coaches in their formative years in college. And so that was great. And then, you know, having my relationship with Don Bakke really made it that, you know, it became home for us. And little did we know when we came in '96 that we would be here for the rest of my career.
Yeah, indeed. What a run you had. And here are some of the pertinent numbers from Greg Kraft's coaching career at ASU. 4 NCAA team titles, 12 top 4 finishes at the NCAA National Championships. Greg's student athletes won a total of 38 national titles and earned 21 Olympic berths while taking home over 300 All-American honors. A job well done by Coach Kraft. And Greg, when you hear those accomplishments mentioned, do any of them stand out above the others?
Oh, I think it's always the first time you win the championship. And for us, our first championship was at the University of Oregon, winning the Pac-10 title. And so that was really special for us. And then getting our first trophy at the NCAA meet, because, when the meet's over and the teams are trotting out there to get their trophies, it's something you kind of long for to do. And so it was really a lot of fun to watch the men and women run out there and get their trophies. Is really an exciting experience. It really is.
It must be meaningful to you that you're going to be inducted in a Hall of Fame class here at ASU that includes one of your former throwing greats in Jordan Clark, as well as your 2007 team that won both the NCAA indoor and outdoor championships within a few months of each other. First of all, can you reflect on Jordan's career? 4 NCAA titles, 3 in the outdoor shot, 1 in the indoor shot, one of the many tremendous throwers that this program has produced over the years.
Well, Jordan was so talented and really a big personality, and he's probably one of the most funny guys we had at Arizona State. I mean, he was someone that everybody naturally gravitated around. Wonderful sense of humor, really a team guy, and just an outstanding person. And I couldn't be happier for Jordan. And to put it in perspective, you don't make a lot of money in track and field, and the current Olympic and world champions were 2 guys that he beat to win those 3 NCAA titles. So those were very hard-won titles that he had.
Indeed. Now, what are some of your best memories of that 2007 women's track and field team that became, I think, just the 3rd women's track and field program ever to win both the indoor and outdoor team titles in the same year?
Well, there were so many great athletes on that team, and obviously Jackie Johnson, who was on the Pac-12 All-Century team and the original Hall of Fame class for the Coaches Association, was really a driving force for that. But, fellow Olympian, Amy Hastings and Sarah Stevens and Jessica Presley, I think we have 5 women off that team that are in the Hall of Fame for ASU, and probably some more that will be eventually. And so really it was this their unselfishness and their drive. And I don't think our men would have ever won the national championship in 2008 if they weren't following the footsteps of our women's team, because they were the real deal, not only on the track, but they were the number 1 team in the country academically. And Sarah Stevens was the Scholar Athlete of the Year. So those women did it all. And it was really an easy team to coach, because you just had to get them to the meet on time. You really did.
Pretty much. I'll tell you, Jackie Johnson may go down as the greatest athlete in Arizona State history. I mean, she was something else, winning the heptathlon national title on that 2007 team.
Yeah, you can only win 4 titles, and she won all 4 outdoors. So she had 8 opportunities to win a national championship, and she won 7, and once she was second. So when you look at what those women did, Sarah Stevens scored 98 points by herself at the national championships. And she won 2 national titles, but she was second 7 times. So we really had an unbelievable number of just superstars on that team.
We sure did. One of your assistant coaches on that 2007 NCAA champion women's team is now your successor in charge of the track and field program at Arizona State. What are your thoughts on the job that Dion Miller is doing right now with Sun Devil track and field?
Well, obviously, it was an unbelievable outdoor meet they had last year. And to run 2:57 in the mile relay, I don't think people can truly fathom how special that is. And one of the reasons we were able to win so much during my career is we just had an outstanding group of assistant coaches working for us. And Dion obviously is one, that team that was really kind of put together with Walt Durant, who won a national championship as the head coach at Michigan State. Darrell Anderson was our original sprint coach that I think coached for 18 years as the head at TCU, and Jason Dunn at Stanford, and now Louis Quintana, the head coach at Oregon State. We were really blessed to have so many outstanding coaches, and Coach Miller is one that has all of those qualities. And having worked with us when we won, but also at Texas Tech and Alabama, two of the elite programs in the country, when he came back and was being groomed for this job, he was really ready for the challenge. And so getting fifth last year with Justin Robinson and Turner Washington and that entire group, they really had just a wonderful May and June last year.
Are you an emotional sort, Greg? Do you get any sense what it'll be like, the feelings will be like next weekend when the ceremonies take place and you're inducted and get to see a lot of your former student athletes once again?
I'm not really a super emotional person. I think when you get these awards, my brother and his wife will be there, my wife, my sons. I think that the people that have kind of supported you and toiled in the background through a 40-year career, it almost means more to them that their dad or husband or brother gets this recognition. And so, so that's the neat part for it. My youngest son was supposed to go a vacation with his girlfriend's family, and I told him, well, we have the Hall of Fame weekend, and so he burned a little equity in saying he's not going with them to the East Coast. He says, my dad's going in the Hall of Fame. I'm not missing that. And so that's really
you raised a good son.
Don Bakke will be there, longtime supervisor for us. And, you were mentioning you turned 72. Bach turned 77 last week, and actually he's getting a new hip put in today.
Yes,
believe it or
yes.
not.
Yeah, I saw a social media post, and we want to, that's a great lead-in just to wish our good friend and longtime ASU Athletics Administrator Don Bakke all the best. Don has been retired for a while now, but is having a hip replacement on this very day, the day that we're taping this interview, and we wish Coach Bakke all the best. He was one of a kind, wasn't he, Greg?
He really was. And if I can share one story about Don, in the sport of cross country, we won a couple trophies and had top 10 NCAA finishes. And we're going from the Pac-10 championships, where it's 8,000 meters, to the national championships, that's 10,000 meters. And he couldn't understand how that could be. Why wouldn't you run 10,000 meters if it's a championship course? And as a longtime football coach, he said, that's like playing in an 80-yard field. It makes no sense to me. And so he thought it was the dumbest thing ever. And so to his credit, he got in the NCAA track and field cross-country committee and tried to, deal with the higher-ups to try to bring some sense to our sport. And so I always appreciate that. And Don and I, our careers pathed early in my career when I coached at Kansas State from 81 to 85. And Don was an assistant football coach there.
Yes. I remember that very well. And then he came to Arizona State, I believe, in 1985. But we wish him the best. And Greg, we wish you all the best. We hope you continue to enjoy your well-deserved retirement. And this is a well-deserved honor for you getting into the Arizona State Hall of Distinction. We're looking forward to seeing you next week. It'll be my honor to serve as the MC for the luncheon. And it'll be great to see you here and see you and one of your former student athletes and one of your former teams all going to the Hall of Fame at the same time. Congratulations and all the best to you.
Okay, thank you so much. And we'll see you next week, and I look forward to it.
That should be great. That's Sun Devil, former Sun Devil track and field coach and soon to be Sun Devil Hall of Famer Greg Kraft, our guest on this segment of the Anderson Healey Show. Christina Wombacher will join me as we wind down this weekend show after these messages on the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. We're winding down this week's installment of the Anderson Healey Show, which comes your way from the Mountain America Credit Union Sun Devil Radio Network. I'm Tim Healey, the radio play-by-play voice of the Sun Devils, welcoming you back to the show. And Arizona State Senior Associate Athletic Director Christina Wombacher rejoins me now. Christina filling in this week for Ray Anderson. And we talked volleyball in the first segment of the show, and the great start they're off to 14-0, two big matches coming up this weekend at Stanford third-ranked Stanford and Cal. But Christina, one note we neglected to mention then, but we will mention now, is this is the 50-year anniversary of the Sun Devil volleyball program, and there was quite a celebration last weekend. In fact, I think at the Washington match on Sunday, a lot of the alumni returned, and talk a little bit about all that's gone into this 50-year celebration of Sun Devil volleyball.
It was so much fun this weekend celebrating the 50th anniversary of Sun Devil Volleyball. We partnered with the Alumni Association for an affinity reunion, had a planning committee. They were instrumental in the success of the event. We had over 50 alumni back that we welcomed. They came Thursday to the Arizona game, Saturday to a beautiful luncheon where there were tears and laughter. Mary Littlewood, the first ever coach of Sun Devil Volleyball, was there and had some remarks. A panel with student athletes from each decade. Wow. It was amazing. And then on to tailgating and the football game, wrapped up with at Washington recognition on the court with all the ladies, their families. Patty Snyder Park was on our planning committee. Excellent to see everybody come back.
Boy, some of the great names in program history, and how cool is it that this year's team is off to such a great start. It's almost like there's some kind of karma involved where they're honoring this 50-year celebration of the program's history.
Very exciting, and we feel like we're just getting started. 50 years in and on the right trajectory.
And I tell you what, I think volleyball is really starting to gather some fans. I think Arizona State fans right now really looking for something to cheer big for, and the turnouts at Mullet Arena were terrific. And I understand I think there are going to be 3 more home matches at Mullet, and the other 5 remaining home matches will be at Desert Financial.
Yes, very fortunate to have Mullet. It's one of those, if you build it, they will come. Plus, you put a good product on the court. Super exciting, and we have 5 total in Mullet and 5 in Desert Financial Arena.
Great stuff with Sun Devil women's volleyball. Let's talk some golf now as we hit the links. It's been a busy couple of weeks for Missy Farquet's Sun Devil women's golf program. They played in a tournament last week in Tennessee, and coming up this coming Monday and Tuesday, October 2nd and 3rd, they're going to be playing in another tournament in the Chicago area. Last week, the Sun Devils finished 4th at the Mason Rudolph Invitational that took place in Franklin, Tennessee. The Sun Devils posted a 13 under par final score. That was 11 shots off the pace of the tournament winner, the hometown school, the Vanderbilt Commodores. Individually, Sun Devil Paula Schultz-Hansen tied for 5th place with an excellent showing as she shot a 7 under par 3-round total. So far, it looks like Missy's team's off to a pretty good start.
Yep, Missy has them rolling on all cylinders right now, so more to come. Next
Monday and Tuesday, we said they'll be in Chicago, October 2nd and 3rd. It's the Windy City Collegiate Golf Classic. Meanwhile, props to 3 alums of the Sun Devil women's golf program who helped the European team retain the Solheim Cup in Malaga, Spain this past weekend. Anna Nordqvist, Lynn Grant, and Carlotta Saganda all played a role in Europe's 14-14 tie with Team USA because of the fact that Europe was the 2-time defending champions in the Solheim event. The tie enabled them to retain the cup for a 3rd consecutive year. And in particular, Carlotta Saganda, playing in her homeland of Spain, came up huge for the Europeans. Europe was trailing 14-13, coming to the final match of the day and of the tournament, and Carlotta won her match with clutch shots on the final 3 holes to basically help retain the Solheim Cup for Europe. That's quite a feather in the cap of Missy Farquet's program and for Sun Devil women's golf when you have 3 of your former players on such a world stage perform so admirably, huh? I got to see the highlights on Twitter, and definitely Sun Devils for life, so great to see them out there succeeding. Indeed. Now finally today, before we let Christina go, she's done a nice job as our co-host this week. I understand that one of the responsibilities that you have administratively here at Arizona State involves the transition that the school is undertaking from going to the Pac-12 conference to next year being a member of the Big 12 conference. What are some of the things you're involved with in that regard? Some of the things you're taking place or that are taking place now, some of the main issues that you and Arizona State are dealing with as the athletic department transitions over to the Big 12 a year from now.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, obviously, as we said earlier, one more year of the Pac-12, it's an honor, and we're going to cherish all of this experience this year. Moving into the Big 12, the commissioner was here just before the Oklahoma State game, so we got to meet him. And
Brett Yormark. Right?
Yep, we've had a few calls with their transition team.
We've heard he's a very dynamic individual, and he's been obviously very, very much at the front of the Big 12's expansion.
He absolutely is, and he called it a mature startup when he met with us. And so we're excited. He's creative, innovative. He's excited about the four corner schools and the impact that we can make. We're working on scheduling, TV production, sports sponsorship, like all the time. Wow. and getting the feelers out there on what that might look like.
Do you have any sense as to what may happen relative to dividing up the league? Because as we stand at this moment, there are now 16 teams in the Big 12, and I'm wondering if there's any plans, are any plans in the work to maybe go to 2 8-team divisions or 4 4-team pods, or what is being discussed, or what are the possibilities that are out there?
I think all the possibilities are on the table. We're talking about what's best for the student-athlete experience, what's best for the competitiveness and the integrity of the game, travel, all of those things are on the table. So pods have been brought up, regions have been brought up, travel partners have been brought up. There's a scheduling working group that's been established, and the ADs, I think, are speaking next week, and I think scheduling's on the agenda.
Do you have any timetable as to when, schedules will be released, or when some of those things will be determined?
More questions than answers, but hopefully soon. I know our coaches are wanting to schedule non-conference and get those conversations going, so sooner than later.
Do you get a sense of what are some of the things that Mr. Yormark and the folks in the Big 12 appreciate most about an Arizona State coming in and being a part of their league?
Yeah, there's a brand, there's a fan base, there's the region. It's a lot of positive things that Arizona State brings.
Lots in the works, and the transition is underway. A year from now, we'll be a member of the Big 12 Conference, and I think everybody at Arizona State's looking forward to that. But a little bit of bittersweet, too, as we go the final go-around as members of the Pac-12. With that, we bring down the curtain on this week's Anderson Healey Show, and we thank you so much for joining us. We want to thank our executive producer, ASU Senior Associate Athletic Director Doug Tamaro, for his help. Thanks to our terrific engineer producer, Sean Crespin of the Sun Devil Radio Network. Thanks to our Sun Devil Radio Network interns, Jacob Jones, Evan Reiser, and Bobby Hurley Jr., and we also want to thank our terrific show scheduler, Kim Nelson of Sun Devil Athletics. We're back next week with another edition of the Anderson Healey Show, at which time I'll be joined by Arizona State Deputy Athletic Director Gene Boyd, and we hope we'll make plans to join us. Christina, it was great having you on the show. Great to visit with you.
Thank you so much. Can I make one last plug for the Hall of Fame coming up?
Yes,
so that
you may.
Tickets are still available. Come to the lunch and see you at the game.
That's Friday, October 6th. I believe it's at the new Omni Hotel.
New Omni, yep.
Yeah, and
great class, lots of track. Greg Kraft, who you're going to talk to. We've got volleyball in there, water polo.
And Jason Kipnis, former Sun Devil baseball star and longtime Major League star. It's a great class.
Sean McDonald.
Oh, one of the top pass catchers in ASU history. Come and meet them all. And it's next Friday, October 6th, at the Omni Hotel, the Hall of Fame induction luncheon. It'll be my honor to serve as the MC for the proceedings, and I think if you're a Sun Devil diehard, you'll want to be there, so make plans to join us on Friday, October 6th. Till next time, for Christina Wombacher and for Ray Anderson, I'm Tim Healey. Thanks for joining us on the Anderson Healey Show. So long, everybody.